I am struggling. Being in your 20s is so hard. Being a college graduate with no sense of direction feels impossible, and most days I want to give up. Hola people of the internet, my name is Miranda Natalia and I'd like to welcome you to my channel. Today's super exciting because I'm sitting down to reflect on what a year post-grad looks like. For those of you who don't know, I'm a recent, not so recent graduate anymore. I graduated a year ago in May from my alma mater, Cedar Crest College. Honestly, when they say that college is the best 4 years of your life, I think it truly is, though I hope I have some really great years ahead of me. That said, I think that the years following college are some of the strangest and most awkward years in life, and I don't think that anybody talks about this. And as someone who loves YouTube and really looks to this space for advice and encouragement, I don't feel like I knew any YouTuber talking about how awkward and hard the years after college are. Now that I'm a year out, I feel like I can speak a little bit more about this, and I wanted to come on here and encourage you all. I don't know if you're in this stage of life, if you're going to be a graduate. I think of all of our graduates during this time, during quarantine, and my heart goes out to you all. Graduation was such a special time, and I truly hope and pray that you'll be able to have that for you and yourself later this year, as so many schools look to reschedule and postpone rather than simply cancel commencements. To give you a little bit of background about myself, I graduated college on May, I believe it was 11th, and I started working the 28th. I was so fortunate and so blessed and so intentional about my last semester of college that by the time I had graduated, I actually had 3 job offers, and ended up taking the third and was super excited about the opportunity. I was super blessed, super fortunate, and walked basically off stage and into a desk. That said, though, I think that I kind of had this ideal situation. However, it didn't make it any less hard. What I want to tackle today is the emotional and mental part of graduating that I feel like a lot of people don't talk about. Here's what nobody tells you about graduating college. Regardless of whether or not you have a job or don't have a job, I don't think anybody has been frank or was frank with me at the time about the fact that you feel lost. I know for me, and later I found out that for so many of my classmates, leaving college was such a shock. And not because we weren't prepared, not because we didn't get jobs, but because we had been students for our whole life. Personally, I went K through 12 and straight into higher education, and so for more than 16 years of my life, I had been a student. And what a wake-up call to not be a student anymore. Work so hard for those 4 years, and then K through 12 before then, and you think, I just want to get to graduation, I just want to get to graduation, I just want to start working, I want to enter the workforce, only to find out, man, I loved being a student. I loved sitting in a classroom. I loved the flexibility and the change and the new challenges with being a student, and that was completely stripped away. And I talk about that a little bit in my introduction video, because I think that that shock really defined this past year. So it's okay if you're currently in this situation and you feel lost and confused and like you miss school, join the club. You're not alone in that feeling. I think something else that no one prepared me for is, you know, as an intern, you're used to being the youngest person and you're used to being the student even in the workplace. But when you transition from student to full-time employee, nobody tells you how hard it'll be to be the youngest person in your workplace. And that was a unique problem that I don't think anybody talked to me about, that I wish I would have gotten a warning. Now, if you're someone who's joining a fairly young company or a company where a lot of the workplace culture is geared towards millennials and even Gen Z, as I'm someone on the cusp of that, it's possible that you won't face this, and congratulations for hitting the lotto. But the reality is that millennials and Gen Z, or at least younger millennials and older Gen Z, aren't a large portion of the workforce yet. I had no idea how hard it would be to forge a way for myself as the internal expert in my industry, because I'm young, and frankly, on top of being young, I look younger than I even am. So I remember walking into some meetings and people assuming I was an intern, or even just at a networking event, forget my workplace, and people being like, "How old are you, sweetie?" And it's like, whoa there, I'm 22, and yes, that's young, but I graduated college, I have created a way for myself here, like, I know what I'm doing and I know what I'm talking about. And most days it's a nice confidence boost, because you realize, like, youth doesn't matter, your age doesn't matter as long as you're dedicated to your work. But other days it's hard, because a lot of the people in your workplace won't be able to relate to that experience because they're removed from it. And they may not even acknowledge the ways in which, hey, they felt this way at one point, but they've gotten past that chapter of their lives, and that they might perpetuate that. It's strange to be the youngest. It's strange to feel like the resident baby, but take heart, because you deserve to be where you are, and you worked so hard to attain the role that you're currently in. That was a huge storm that took me away. It was just first day, orientation, someone plops down all the first day paperwork. And I had done a lot of this as someone who interned regularly and worked regularly. However, the difference between like all my part-time jobs or even like my freelance or contract work, it's like I fill out a W-2, I, give them my personal details, make sure that they're sending the money to the right place. But when someone's offering you benefits and retirement package options, health insurance, vision, all these things, all you feel is like you have this giant stack of paper and you don't know what to do. I mean, I know I didn't. There were so many memes going around from people in my class. It's like, you get your pack of paper and it's like, "Mom, please come pick me up." And so I filled out all this paperwork, and it was later that I found out, like, I should have direct deposited part of my paycheck to this account and another one to this account. Or, I probably would have been better off opening a Roth IRA rather than investing in my non-matching retirement fund at my workplace. And it's such a whirlwind. And so all these things are things that people don't talk about. So you're lost, you are overwhelmed, and you get all these things. You've lost a piece of yourself in being a student, and it occurs to you, man, I don't know who I am anymore. And that's something that I certainly faced. I spent so many months of this past year wondering if I had made the right choices, if I knew who I was, if I knew what my passions were, wondering if, things would have been different if I would have gone to a younger company, or if I should have moved away from my hometown, if I should have gone straight to graduate school because being a student felt so good and so right and I missed it so much. And I spent months and months worrying and stressing myself out. But the reality is, here I am a year later, and I'm confident that I made the best choices that I knew that I could with what I knew at the time. And I hope that you'll know that for yourself. As you embark on this new journey, or if you, like me, are a year or even a couple years out from college graduation and you feel a little lost and worried, trust yourself. Trust that you made the best decision you could with what you knew at the time, right? I didn't know the intricacies of a Roth IRA versus my company's retirement fund when I was my first day on the job, because nobody had ever talked to me about retirement planning. I didn't think about some of those company culture questions because I had never had to think about them before. And so what does that mean? It means that, okay, I'm not in my dream life yet. But it means that as I grow with my company and one day with other organizations, that I'm going to be better informed about what's important to me, what I care about, and again, going to be able to make the best decisions with what I now know. So what are the things that got me through this past year and I think pushed me from a place of deprivation and scarcity and fear to thriving? Because I truly think that I'm thriving. You know, we're in a quarantine. Life has truly thrown us the curveball of all curveballs. However, I feel good about where my future is headed. And so my biggest thing, and if you've seen other videos, you know that I love Jesus. So the first thing I will say is that it was Jesus. On days where I was feeling so clouded by all that negativity, I trusted in my God. I believe that my God is a provider. I believe my God is a divine illustrator and writer, and I knew that I was positioned where I needed to be. And even on the hardest days, I remembered the word when it says in Colossians 3:23 that work willingly in everything that you do and work as if unto God and not unto man. And that alone was the biggest shift for me. I learned that no matter the circumstance I was in, no matter the fear that I was in, as long as I was giving my best, as if my boss were God himself, that I was doing what I could, that I was going to cash in on the promise that everything works out for the good of those who believe. And so getting in that mentality of, even if things aren't perfect now, even if you're not in your dream job, even if you're not confident about where you are, if you're still adjusting, remember that everything works out for the good of those who believe. 2, talk about it with other people. I cannot stress this enough. I think it's so easy to feel alone during this chapter because people don't want to talk about areas where they're struggling. We live in the age of social media and highlight reels. And it's not, a highlight reel isn't just for athletes anymore. Everyone's Instagram, Facebook, even YouTube channel is a highlight reel of their life. We see the best. You know, even on my social media, people saw when I got the job, people saw when I graduated, but people for a long time didn't see I'm struggling. I don't know if I'm doing the best. I don't know if I'm cut out for the job that was given to me. I just had so much uncertainty. And it was when I was finally putting my pride away and saying, you know what, I'm struggling, I feel lost, and I feel hurt, that my friends started sharing that they were going through the same exact thing. So reach out to people who care about you, reach out to people who are in similar situations as you, and tell them, be honest, like, I am struggling. Being in your 20s is so hard. Being a college graduate with no sense of direction feels impossible, and most days I want to give up. Say it. Because whether or not your best friend or that person that you had Bio 101 with, someone can relate. I'm saying that I relate to you. And the last thing what I'm going to talk about is find yourself. And that's so cheesy, and so many people think that they find themselves in college because they find a major or an industry that makes sense for them. But no, find out who you are when you're not a student. The baccalaureate speaker for my senior year, I don't remember her name. I vaguely remember what they look like, but I will never forget their speech because it started by saying, after graduation, I want you to stop introducing yourself, and you're going to have to learn how to stop introducing yourself as, I'm Miranda Alvarez and I'm a double major in media studies and English, because guess what? Your major won't matter. And as we see trends showing that people stay with companies for less and less time, even your occupation doesn't matter. What matters is what you're passionate about. What matters is what you can talk about endlessly. What matters is what stirs your soul and puts a flame in your heart. And let me tell you, it might not be your major or your job after you graduate. So find those things. After I graduated, I went skydiving for a second time. I started taking salsa classes. Recently, I've started making clay jewelry. I dove back into YouTube, which was something that I was super excited about for so many years. I got a dog shortly before graduating, and I embraced fully being a dog mom and a plant mom. I have plants everywhere in my mom's house now. And I began to cultivate these pieces of myself that I didn't give myself the time or day to embrace or explore because I was so caught up in being a student in academia that I wasn't being a student of my life and myself. So do those things. Try a salsa class like I did. Do the thing that scares you. Go on vacation by yourself. Take a new class. To wrap up what might be a long video, I hope you know that my first year out of college has been probably the most difficult year of my life. And that might be relative to how easy that I had it. But trust me when I say that so many people in their 20s feel lost and directionless, but it doesn't mean you are. There's going to be so much you don't know, and that's okay. There's going to be so much that feels like will break you, but it won't. Remember that you're not alone, and remember that God is your employer. God is the one who set you on this earth and gave you a purpose and work to do. And don't let yourself be defined by work, by school, by how you do or don't feel, but instead look at the mission before you. Whether that is your workplace, a class that you're taking, a transition that you need to make to better feel at the center of your purpose, whatever that is, look at the work before you and do it willingly and as if unto God. That's a little update about my life, about how I'm feeling. If you have any specific questions, feel free to drop it in the comments. If you liked this video, hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and as always, I invite you to share it with someone who might be going through this season. It's a hard one, but it's a fruitful one, and if you're intentional about surrounding yourself with community and searching for you and what sets your soul on fire, it could also be the richest season of your life. I thank you all so much, and I love you all. Bye.